Who is this man? Why does he, every single morning, meticulously tend to the military base grounds, enduring the mockery of the young soldiers? They jeer. They call him the old lawnmower, convinced he's just a lost, aging veteran trapped in his own past. Then, one day, a mocking photograph spreads across social media, and the old man's secret is laid bare, leaving the entire base stunned. This man is more than just a groundskeeper. He once led thousands of soldiers through life and death battles, the stars on his shoulders gleaming with honor. The story of John Ramsey, the silent hero of Fort Liberty, is proof that true leadership needs no medals or titles. It is etched into every action. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss the next chapters of his journey. Each dawn at Fort Liberty feels woven from stillness and the soft glow of sunrise. When the first ray of light slips through the leaves, illuminating concrete barracks and rows of flagpoles, a familiar figure appears on the path leading into the compound. It is John Ramsey, 78 years old, slight in frame, yet with eyes that still bear the steadfast resolve of a soldier forged in countless battles. Ramsey is no ordinary retiree. He does not sit on a porch, sipping tea and reminiscing about the past. Instead, each day he pedals his rickety bicycle through the main gate, towing an old Toro mower behind him, and makes his way to the stretch of grass lining the road. The mower rumbles in his hands, but to him, it is as comforting and rhythmic as a marching cadence. He wears simple clothes, a faded polo shirt stamped with the base's insignia, now barely visible, worn khaki trousers, and combat boots frayed at the heels from years of treading rough terrain. On his head, a cap devoid of any badge still shields his face from the sun. No one looks at him through the usual lens of old age. Instead, their gazes are half doubtful, half sympathetic. Whispers ripple among the younger soldiers. "He's just mowing for his own amusement. Probably served here decades ago." Others sneer, dubbing him the grass general. Occasionally, a hurried salute comes his way, but for the most part, he passes unnoticed. Ramsey pays them no mind. He stoops, adjusts the mower's throttle, and systematically trims each unruly patch of grass. With every spinning blade, he slices away the dry remnants, etching crisp lines into the earth. Thanks to him, the lawns remain tidy, no stray blade of grass out of place, imparting order and neatness across the entire base. He does more than cut grass. At times, he stoops to pick up small debris, an empty beer can, a crumpled newsprint, a discarded cigarette butt left behind by contractors. He folds himself low to the ground, depositing each piece into the canvas bag hanging from his mower, as though safeguarding this space from even the tiniest stain. Then he calmly straightens bent signs and secures wind-whipped bulletin boards. Under his care, every detail, no matter how small, feels cherished. At exactly 0800 hours, the solemn strains of the national anthem reverberate through the compound. Soldiers halt in their tracks. Most stand at half attention, but Ramsey immediately kills his mower's engine, comes to attention before the flagpole, chest still like a mirror, gaze fixed on the flag fluttering overhead. In that moment, his silhouette stands more commanding than any statue of a soldier on the grounds. A few young Marines and paratroopers watch him with quiet shame, wondering where they have misplaced their own respect. When the ceremony ends, a handful of soldiers approach him with curiosity. "Sir, why do you keep this ritual every day, Mr. Ramsey?" they ask. He simply smiles, voice deep and warm. "To keep my mind clear, and to remember the past." His words are brief, yet they carry the weight of 7 decades of service. No one presses him for specifics. No questions about battles fought or ranks held, because he does not boast. He merely seeks to make a small contribution to Fort Liberty's smooth operation. For an American audience unaccustomed to the scent of military turf, his image still resonates. An unwavering old man who will not yield to age. They recognize in him responsibility and discipline. Values they've heard are hallmarks of veterans. They picture him once on the front lines, facing mortal danger. Now, in peace, he tends the compound as he once tended his fellow soldiers' spirits. His daily routine stands as living testimony to the belief many veterans voice. The war doesn't end when the guns fall silent. It lives on in the heart. Slowly, derisive whispers give way to looks of admiration. Military families visiting the base quietly snap photos of him at work. One mother abandons her rush, lays a hand on his shoulder, and thanks him. Soldiers' children, eyes wide, watch him mow and recall the story he once told them when they begged for memories of combat. War hides smiles, but brotherhood is what we find again. Evenings find him still at his task long after the sun has set. He carefully coats the mower's shaft with protective oil to ward off rust, then wheels it toward the gate. The creak of its wheels sounds like a closing refrain on another day of silent service. As his bicycle disappears from view, he turns for one last look at the compound, his battlefield of flagpoles and grass. He seeks no accolades, no banners, no grand ceremonies. To him, preserving his routine and keeping Fort Liberty pristine are the greatest honors of his service. There, amid towering buildings and distant echoes of training fire, an old man of 78 quietly sows hope that duty and loyalty never grow old. Every morning at Fort Liberty, already made warmer by the gentle rays of dawn, is suddenly filled with snickers and cruel taunts. John Ramsey's steady footsteps, still pushing that old Toro mower, now feel out of place beneath dozens of curious, contemptuous gazes. A newly transferred sergeant, smooth-skinned and brimming with bravado, shouts without hesitation, "Hurry up! Don't let this old man mow, then turn around and drill us!" The laughter erupts, sharp as blades slicing through the fleeting calm. Pravit Tommy Carter, a recruit only just learning the wonders of a smartphone, seizes the moment. As the opening notes of the national anthem ring out, he captures Ramsey standing at attention in full frame, engine silent, eyes fixed on the fluttering flag, freezing this triumphant scene in a single still. Tommy then posts it online with a mocking caption. "So this is where stolen valor hides?" The post goes viral in minutes. Hundreds of members of military groups pausing their scrolling only to like and share. The ridicule doesn't stop there. In the comments, someone sneers, "That old man must think he's still in uniform," while another jabs, "Discharged as a private, now self-appointed colonel." Some express vague concern over Ramsey as a homeless veteran, a lost soul yearning to reclaim a bygone glory. The term harmless mascot circulates, dismissing entirely the quiet values he's cultivating on base. Yet Ramsey, with his iron-forged heart, does not react. He calmly finishes trimming the last patch of grass, wipes down the mower with his battered cloth, then pedals out the main gate as though nothing has happened. Few notice how every unhurried stride embodies steadfast resolve, much like the day he silently crossed a battlefield under relentless shell fire, unblinking even as the sky trembled. But the joke quickly becomes a serious security issue for command. An official complaint is filed. There's a civilian entering the base daily without credentials. This is a major security breach. Cameras are combed through, access cards at every checkpoint reissued, and security personnel double their patrols. On Friday morning, as Ramsey mows the parade field, the most critical area for inspections and unit formations, two young MPs approach. Clad in body armor and steel helmets, clipboards in hand, they scrutinize him like prosecutors. Every motion he makes is logged on surveillance, from the familiar roar of the mower to the moment he lifts his rag to his brow. One MP, still marked by teenage acne, steps forward. "Mr. John Ramsey, please present your authorization papers." His tone is stern but hesitant. A chill sweeps through Ramsey's chest, recalling military tribunals where soldiers must present every form before marching. He pauses, then replies, "I'm Ramsey. I don't have papers, only a personal duty to mow this ground." The MP presses on. "Under whose orders, sir? Do you have a contract or a memorandum?" Ramsey simply smiles, voice warm yet precise. "The orders are written on the heart of a soldier. I keep this place tidy so my comrades can stand tall every day." No answer fully convinces the young men, but his solemn silence and unwavering gaze force them to take a step back. Word spreads across the base about the MPs arresting Ramsey. Many soldiers buzz with curiosity, wondering if the old man will be kicked out of ranks to redo his paperwork. Yet, after an emergency meeting in the command office, leadership decides, rather than eject him, they will officially list him as a civilian contractor, issue a long-term visitor's pass, and provide him proper work fatigues. Ramsey breathes a quiet sigh of relief. He no longer faces skeptical stares each dawn, nor worries over a security breach. More importantly, people begin addressing him properly. "Mr. Ramsey," and the nickname Grass General slowly transforms into a term of endearment. Weeks later, the base's private social network posts under the headline, "John Ramsey, Fort Liberty's silent legend." The article pairs old photographs of him in combat gear with the present-day image of him mowing, evoking a sense of respect and emotion in every reader. Hundreds comment, sharing his story and reminding everyone that true commitment and loyalty need no spotlight to shine. To an American audience thousands of miles from the scent of military turf, Ramsey's image still resonates. An elderly man of unwavering resolve who refused to bow to mockery or red tape. They see themselves in him, those who quietly strive, unnamed, affirming their worth through action alone. As dusk falls and Fort Liberty settles into its usual hush, Ramsey wheels his mower from the shed, the gravel path catching the last glow of sunset. Beneath the fading light, he bows his head and offers a small smile, looking toward the parade field that once was the stage of ridicule, now hallowed ground for reverence. Every precise cut still echoes the cadence of marching feet, reminding us that as time marches on, the values of discipline and brotherhood remain unbreakable. Every morning at Fort Liberty is much like any other. Gentle sunlight washes over the gray concrete buildings and the solemn rows of flagpoles. The shrill bugle that signaled PT long ago faded away, replaced now by the steady hum of an old Toro mower. John Ramsey, his weathered face carved by time, pushes the machine across each swath of emerald grass with unwavering focus. Suddenly, the tranquil air is pierced by hurried footsteps and a formal voice. "Sir, we need to see your pass," a young MP says, hand resting lightly on his holstered weapon, eyes probing. Ramsey pauses, pulls a frayed handkerchief from his pocket to wipe his brow. His gaze remains calm, resolute. "I've never needed a pass." His tone is low and warm, laced with the unshakable discipline of a career soldier. "I've been coming through the side gate for 7 years. The two MPs exchange glances. They know the side gate is tightly monitored, every vehicle, every person screened. How, then, could this gaunt old man have come and gone so freely for so long? The senior of the two, his face taut with tension, steps forward and presses, "Sir, you will come with us." Ramsey offers no resistance. He simply shuts off the mower, falls silent, and follows the young men, his stride as steady as any enlisted man's. They walk toward the security office at the far end of the compound. The steel door to the armory room slams shut behind them, each of Ramsey's footsteps echoing across the cold tile. Inside, a lieutenant waits behind a battered wooden desk, piled high with files and a card reader. He flips through roster after roster, frowning when he finds no entry for Ramsey. "No contractor badge, no name on the roster," the lieutenant says, frustration and doubt mingling in his voice. "You can't be here." Ramsey slowly withdraws a yellowed, folded paper from his back pocket, the 1987 retirement order issued by Base Command, its corners blurred by decades in storage. He hands it to the lieutenant, speaking softly but firmly. "I served here. Colonel Harrison can confirm. Brigadier General Ellis before him as well." Silence fills the room. Outside the window, the roar of a training aircraft cuts through the heavy stillness. The lieutenant studies the paper, then Ramsey, and sighs. "That document is worthless. Our system won't accept an outdated form." He taps the computer screen. In bold letters, it declares, "Invalid." Ramsey makes no attempt to argue. He lays the paper on the desk, nods in quiet acceptance, and stands ready as the two MPs flank him, prepared to escort him off the base. They lead him to the main gate. Ramsey does not resist or protest. He simply observes his surroundings: barbed wire fences, glass-surrounded guard booths, and no entry signs dampened by the morning mist. Every detail underscores how rigorously this base enforces its procedures. Yet here he is, just another civilian, lost amid the paperwork. At the gate, the officers receive orders to impound the mower. The Toro's wheels squeak against the concrete, a soft cry in the silent compound. Ramsey glances back, his eyes tinged with sadness, yet his expression remains composed. He offers a polite nod to the guards, then walks toward the parking lot. His figure dissolves among the trees, leaving behind a heavy silence and many unanswered questions. News spreads quickly. Veteran groups online erupt in debate. Tommy Carter's mocking post has ballooned into an outcry. Some worry Ramsey is disoriented, clinging to memories of past glories. He was once dismissed as a harmless mascot, but this incident has many now seeing the value behind his aging silhouette. Meanwhile, Base Command convenes an emergency meeting. Security was compromised, protocols must be reviewed, and Fort Liberty's reputation must remain untarnished. Yet during the session, several senior officers speak up. Ramsey embodies selfless service. Expelling him abruptly would mar the base's humane image. In the end, leadership resolves to list him as an official civilian collaborator, issue a long-term visitor's badge, provide proper work fatigues, and allow him to resume his daily mowing duties. The resolution is carried out smoothly. The next morning, Ramsey re-enters through the side gate with his new ID clipped to his chest, the mower's wheels rolling quietly over the gravel. From that moment, the engine's hum no longer draws suspicious glances. Instead, respectful nods follow in his wake. Privates no longer mimic jeers. Rather, they step aside and let him pass, whispers of doubt transformed into words of admiration. An American audience, though miles from military turf, can still feel the depth of his story. An elderly man, steadfast in his convictions, tested by bureaucracy yet ultimately honored. They picture those gravel paths, the barbed wire fences, and the yellowed ID card, a symbol of hard-earned recognition. They sense the virtues of duty, patience, and an undying spirit that refuses to yield to age. As evening falls and Fort Liberty returns to its daily rhythm, Ramsey pushes his mower across the parade field, the sunset painting every cut in golden light. Before he leaves, he looks back and offers a gentle smile, the smile of a soldier who has fulfilled his duty, and now of a citizen acknowledged at last. His footsteps fade away, but that image remains indelible to all who witnessed it. Loyalty and perseverance, though long overlooked, will always earn their place in the heart of the community. On the weekend, while many enjoy moments of rest with family and friends, a photograph of John Ramsey being escorted out the main gate of Fort Liberty by MPs suddenly circulates across the base's private social network. Within hours, comments appear. "Let the old man be. What harm could he do? He just wants to feel he still belongs here." These sympathetic messages carry sighs, as if the writers long for a peaceful resolution to Ramsey's story. But among the many gentle opinions, one comment silences the entire community. Colonel Michael Vaughn, recently returned from the Pentagon, writes simply and decisively, "This is no anonymous retiree. This is Lieutenant General John Ramsey, former commander of the 3rd Infantry Division. He was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross and the Silver Star. He led Fort Liberty from 1982 to 1987. It is shameful that he must endure this." Vaughn's words strike like thunder, echoing in the hearts of soldiers and security personnel alike. Fort Liberty has its share of veteran legends, but learning that Ramsey once led troops through brutal campaigns in Vietnam, served in the Grenada Rescue Operation, and transformed this base into a premier training center, makes every previous glance of dismissal feel misguided and regretful. Ramsey never bragged about his past. He quietly chose the final chapter of his life to continue serving the base, not for recognition, but to uphold Fort Liberty's discipline and esprit de corps. For 7 years, he volunteered to tend the lawns, maintain the signage, and treat the compound as his second home. On Monday morning, as the first rays of sunlight again kissed the barracks' corrugated roofs, 3 Humvees rolled down the main road toward the small town a few miles beyond the side gate. Unit flags flutter atop the vehicles. Through the windshield, the commander's gaze is stern, yet warm. Colonel Vaughn steps out in a crisp suit, his boots still dusted from the road, then walks to the small wooden house where Ramsey lives alone, in the home he shared with his late wife. He pauses on the weathered porch, beside the old armchair that has witnessed so many memories. A gentle wind chime tinkers in the breeze, blending with the rich aroma of coffee as Ramsey sets his cup on the table. He looks up at the younger commander and offers a tolerant smile. Vaughn swallows hard, then asks, "General Ramsey, why did you not let anyone know who you are?" Ramsey folds his hands, eyes drifting back toward the base, the place that once echoed with infantry footsteps. "If they never saw it," he replies in his warm baritone, "perhaps they were not yet ready to follow. I believe each soldier must discover his own mirror. When they truly trust, they will understand and respect." His words are simple yet profound. Vaughn feels the weight of each syllable, like bricks laid over decades of bombardment and silent watches. He smiles inwardly, knowing he has learned a precious lesson in leadership. Guiding doesn't always require lofty titles. Sometimes it only requires a steadfast example and humble heart. That afternoon, the news is widely announced. Fort Liberty no longer buzzes with suspicion, but overflows with pride and reverence. The sign at the main gate is replaced. Beneath the motto, "Swift, Accurate, Unconquered," now sits Ramsey's portrait and the inscription, "Honoring Lieutenant General John Ramsey, Fort Liberty's spirit." The next morning, as Reveille and the national anthem ring out more proudly than ever, Ramsey appears on the parade field. Beside him, Colonel Vaughn and other officers stand in formation, hands clasped in solemn salute. Ramsey, hatless, lets the breeze tousle his silver hair. He salutes the flag, then gently grips his faithful Toro mower, and begins his work as on any ordinary morning. Yet this time, each blade of grass he trims, each turn of the blade, is met with respectful nods. No more jeering from the young soldiers. Tommy Carter, the one who first shared the mocking photo, watches silently, then offers a respectful nod of his own. Privates and corporals step back in line, giving Ramsey the space to complete his task. Fort Liberty's air is now one of solemn warmth. Each pass of the mower reminds all of the value of duty, loyalty, and humility in leadership. Across America, those who follow the story online see more than an aging general. They feel the indomitable spirit of U.S. soldiers. They understand Fort Liberty as more than a military base. It is a forge of steadfast hearts, where each story is written by those who dedicated their lives to the nation. And among them, Lieutenant General John Ramsey stands as a guiding beacon, silent in his light yet never extinguished. That afternoon, as the Texas sun began to fade, Fort Liberty rang with the solemn blast of the assembly horn. On the vast parade field, thousands of soldiers, from raw recruits to seasoned officers, stood in perfect formation. Slanting rays of late sunlight glinted off steel helmets and brass buttons, lending the scene both gravity and the stifling heat of the South. Units held their breath, awaiting orders. Not a whisper, not a movement broke the silence, heavier than any reconnaissance drill or code of conduct lecture. On the worn wooden lectern, Colonel Michael Vaughn, fresh from the Pentagon, leaned back, surveying the ranks. Beside him, a single navy blue chair stood out against the sun-baked cement, reserved for a very special guest. From the far end of the field, a white flatbed truck rumbled in. When its ramp descended, John Ramsey, lean and silver-haired, clad in simple work clothes and scuffed boots, stepped down. The truck's wheels clattered to a stop as if suspended in that moment. The hush that followed was almost palpable. Every eye turned toward the old man approaching the stand. Colonel Vaughn inclined his head in salute, then his voice boomed over the loudspeaker. "Soldiers! Attention!" They snapped to focus. Vaughn paused, eyes sweeping the formation, before continuing. "The man before you led us through the jungles of Vietnam and the burning sands of Grenada. He authored the survival manual you study at the academy. For 7 years, Lieutenant General John Ramsey has maintained Fort Liberty in perfect condition, not for any reward, but because he believes a leader's duty never ends." Those words echoed across the field. A soft breeze stirred dust in the air, yet nothing could disrupt this solemnity. The privates who once sneered at the lawnmower man now stood rigid, their faces awash with the weight of unburied history. Vaughn gestured toward the empty chair. "Lieutenant General Ramsey, please be seated." A gentle wave of applause rose, muted but heartfelt. Ramsey nodded his thanks, then walked steadily across the hot cement. His subtle smile revealed the quiet pride of a lifetime service. As he settled into the chair, the late sun caught the brass buttons on his work shirt, casting a gentle shimmer that honored the wrinkles earned over 50 years of duty. Colonel Vaughn resumed, "Today, we honor not only battlefield valor, but also those unheralded contributions made without title or fanfare. Let Lieutenant General Ramsey know that Fort Liberty will always be his home." In that hush, a young private, Carter, who had posted the mocking photo, stepped forward. His sunburned face looked tentative, his breath caught. Stopping before the chair, he stammered, "Sir, I apologize." A collective exhale swept through the troops. Expecting rebuke, Carter bowed his head, but instead, Ramsey merely smiled. He lifted his gaze, steadying his eyes on the private. "Next time, look closer. The uniform doesn't make the soldier makes the uniform." The field burst into soft cheers, less a clap than a murmur of respect. Many brushed away tears, realizing they had witnessed a profound lesson. Leadership is not bestowed by rank, but by example and compassion. As dusk deepened, Ramsey rose, wiped his brow with a handkerchief, and walked back through the ranks. His trusty Toro mower rolled quietly at his side. Dozens of eyes followed him, not with scorn, but with the admiration of those who had heard history yet never seen its author. When the old man climbed back onto the truck, its horn blared, slicing through the twilight. He turned, raised his hand in farewell, holding that salute for several heartbeats before the vehicle rumbled away. The evening breeze swept away the day's heat, as if to remind all that, even in darkness, the light of loyalty and sacrifice endures. For American audiences watching the footage, whether on computer or phone, the power of the moment is unmistakable. The white truck, the empty chair, the young private's trembling apology, and Ramsey's warm smile. They understand this story is not merely about one man, but about anyone who serves quietly, seeking no glory yet yearning for respect. Fort Liberty returned to its calm, but from that day on, whenever the Toro mower's engine roared or a private marched in polished uniform, they would remember Lieutenant General John Ramsey. He showed them that discipline lives not only in regulations, but in the hearts of those who uphold them. That evening, as Fort Liberty's sky deepened to the purple hues of twilight, the floodlights at the side gate illuminated the newly unveiled bronze plaque, inscribed in solemn letters, "Lieutenant General John Ramsey, the man who never ceases to watch over us." Below it, his faithful Toro mower, having traversed these lawns for over 7 years, rested on a concrete pedestal, a steadfast symbol of silent devotion. Small groups of soldiers gathered, their eyes reflecting profound respect. Only days before, mocking laughter and cruel jests had accompanied Ramsey's morning mowing rounds. Now, those same jokers tended the very grass he had preserved, not out of obligation, but because they understood that true leadership is upholding standards, even when no one is watching or honoring you. On the parade ground, where Ramsey once stopped his engine to salute the flag each day, a team of 6 privates rotated the mower in formation. Their practiced hands traced the lines Ramsey had sketched, each blade trimmed to perfection, a living reminder of discipline and precision. Colonel Vaughn, having witnessed Fort Liberty's many trials, stood at the field's edge, whistle in hand. He watched the soldiers at work, nodding in approval, then turned to a young captain. "We're not just keeping the base beautiful, we're preserving the memory and legacy of a man who gave more than his youth to this place." Soon after, in the main conference room, Vaughn established a new tradition. Each first Friday, a recruit would read aloud Ramsey's service record before the entire unit. They would assemble around the plaque and mower, The recruit in crisp uniform clutching the file, voice steady as he recounted the jungle campaigns in Vietnam, the rescue mission in Grenada, and the cascade of medals glittering on Ramsey's chest, the Silver Stars, Distinguished Service Cross, and so many more, all detailed on those yellowed pages. On a Friday afternoon following the tradition's inauguration, Private Carter, the one who had shared that teasing photo and later apologized, was chosen. He stepped to the lectern, eyes falling on the mower's silhouette, a moment of introspection. With a slight tremor, he read, "He never sought recognition. He chose to remain here, among us, to carry on his duty as a leader." The room went silent, then burst into gentle applause, honoring the unassuming commander. Carter's reading was posted to the base bulletin under the bold headline, "Respect in Action, Leadership Lessons from Lieutenant General John Ramsey." The article not only summarized his military achievements, but painted the portrait of an old general who toiled under the sun, maintained the lawns and signage, and quietly nurtured esprit de corps. It spread across the forum, inspiring other units to follow suit, each day reserving time to care for their own grounds as they would their discipline. When Veterans Day arrived, Fort Liberty gleamed beneath the soaring American flag. The Grand Hall displayed black and white photographs of storied battles, but at center stage stood the warm glow of Ramsey's bronze plaque. Now 78, Ramsey appeared in simple civilian attire, seated in the place of honor. Hundreds of soldiers, veterans, and their families queued to enter the hall and salute the seasoned general. In a brief yet profound address, Ramsey looked out at the audience. The best leaders aren't always the ones you see on a podium. They're those who continue to guide and protect when no one is watching. His warm voice settled into every heart. The hall was hushed, only the soft click of a tie being straightened and quiet breaths stirring in the pews. Then the entire room rose in sustained applause, underscoring that humility and responsibility form the bedrock of true leadership. From that day forward, every morning at the start of duty, each new private at Fort Liberty was guided to Ramsey's plaque. They stood, saluted, and quietly declared the now motto, "I will never abandon my post." Those words echoed in the breeze, passing from one generation to the next. The Toro mower now rests in the memorial display, its scratches and faded oil stains preserved. It no longer rolls across the grass, yet the value of each cut lives on in every soldier's actions. Fort Liberty has not only maintained a flawless appearance, but also safeguarded an intangible legacy, the lesson of devotion, humility, and silent sacrifice. For American audiences, whether watching the video on YouTube or reading the story in the military newsletter, the message is clear. Leadership is not a glittering halo, but perseverance in quiet work, day after day, for what is right. Lieutenant General John Ramsey taught an entire base an unforgettable lesson, that the greatest values are etched not on medals, but in the hearts and deeds of people. And you? What detail moved you most? Leave a comment and share your thoughts with friends in the United States.